Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. Each week, we focus on bringing you candid convos from the best in the biz. Here's your host, Tim Herriage.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. Thank you so much for stopping back by. Today, I'm here with the real estate soldier, Naaman Taylor. Naaman, thanks for stopping by, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the invite.
So, Naaman, why don't you just start and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I was in the Army for 13 years, joined straight out of high school, got into real estate investing about a decade after that. While I was in the Army, I went to Iraq, Afghanistan, did some time in Korea, Germany, a bunch of different duty stations, so I got to do a lot of traveling. That's one of the reasons why I decided to get into real estate investing, so I could travel. After those 10 years of service, I started getting a little interested into real estate. The pandemic really pushed the gas pedal on that because the Army slowed down. So for years and years, I was mission. And as soon as that slowed down, I decided to educate myself in something. And that was what got me started in real estate investing. But aside from that, I'm a husband, father, friend. I really pride myself on having a good social circle and a great relationship with my friends, my wife, and my new business friends and associates.
Well, so first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Yeah, honor and privilege, man.
I remember what it was like when I got out, even though that was like, I think you were probably in elementary school. I don't even know. You were probably like 8. I start every show with a segment called The Bottom Line Up Front, the bluff. Okay. So when I was in intelligence and I had to brief the commanders all the time, and they always said, don't bury the lead, right? Give them the bottom line up front in case the briefing needs to end. They know the most important information and they can take action. So imagine there's someone driving to work and they're about to pull over and get gas. Their phone disconnects and they forget to turn the podcast back on. Let's give them the most important stuff, okay. The things that you're seeing in the market today, the things you think people should be doing, the things you think they should be avoiding, and ultimately just the bottom line of the real estate market today. Good to go?
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
Bottom line up front. So the information I want to share isn't even really specifically about real estate investing. It's more, don't get lost in your business, in your day-to-day, that you forget to live a good life. So everyone gets to a point in their business where they're feeling a little overwhelmed, or in their marriage where they're feeling a little stressed, or with their family when they're starting to feel maybe a little neglect. Remember every day to live a very good life. And remember, we're all, at this point, we've all figured out how to make a lot of money. We'll all earn 7 figures, 8 figures. But ask yourself, when you look in the mirror every morning, am I an 8-figure husband? Am I an 8-figure father? Am I an 8-figure friend? So it's really easy, I think, as an investor and as someone who sees my path of success and knows that I'm going to make a lot of money, to get lost each day. And I try to find reasons each day to find myself as an 8-figure husband, father, friend, and business partner. So remember to put those that love you first, have a really good social circle, and live well and earn well.
So business-wise, what are you up to today? What is your kind of core focus, area of operations, area of responsibility?
Yeah, so I've got a couple different businesses and I play different roles in each one. Our smallest business is probably our rental car business.
Rental car business?
Rental car business. So we have a bunch of cars that we're on the Turo platform, and then we also rent some privately. I'm more of the money behind that company. We hired an operator to kind of do the day-to-day on that one. Another business that I'm in that I'm more of a partner is our education business with my friend RJ Bates. We run a couple different education things, like we have a small community, we have a crucible that we run every quarter or so, and then we also have our house flipping business and then our wholesaling company. I CEO both of those companies and make the high-level decisions. And every now and then I like to get on the phone and close some deals.
All right, so I had a lot to unpack there. So what is the Turo platform? Never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Airbnb for cars, like a ride share kind of company. Mm-hmm. You can list your personal car on there and rent it out to people. And there's all kind of different cars on there. I'm sure if you looked on it here in Dallas, you probably have some really sweet cars that you could rent for just a day. and driving around as your personal car. People fly in and the car's delivered to you. So you don't have to actually, book it, go wait in line at, I don't know, Budget or whoever is renting your car. Like I would just drive the car up to you, give it to you at the airport, hop in my other car, drive away. So it's a pretty cool little business, and we run it out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where there's a big base. So a lot of parents are driving and flying in, or not driving, flying in to see their kids graduate. Right. So we meet them at the Oklahoma City Airport or the Wichita Falls Airport or Lawton and give them a car for the few days they're in town there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know RJ well, and you're partnered with RJ, and you guys are you got a Facebook community. I saw you've got kind of a, Zoom call kind of thing. Y'all are doing the Crucible, which is like a 2 or 3 day kind of in-person training event or mastermind.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm doing with RJ right now. Yeah, so we run the education. One of the things we do is we have a community online because it's so important to build those relationships and have people throughout the country, because we do nationwide wholesaling. That's what we teach. So we have over 100 investors inside of our community right now that are signed up, that are part of the crew. And then we do the 2-day in-person education where we show you how to nationwide virtually wholesale.
I love the other day, it was either on Facebook or Instagram, I saw that you had just taken over that old community and you were kicking people out.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Education is valuable and the community is valuable, and
correct.
So many people want to go around the world being a sponge and taking from instead of giving to. And they're more than happy to sit there and take your knowledge and network and not contribute back to you. And so I love it.
I really love community. That's a big part of why he brought me into what he was doing. He already had a proven product.
Yeah.
Right? He was already doing 50, 60, 70 wholesale deals a month. But what I had was something that he didn't, which was community and building those deep relationships with people. So that's why we were a good fit together. And that's kind of how we ended up gravitating towards one another.
So I want to talk about the closer thingy in a second, but where you said you have a wholesale company, where all do you wholesale?
We wholesale nationwide, so we pull smaller motivated lists in a lot of different places. One, I literally just text my my dispo guy, and I said, he also does some of our data. I said, pull lists where regional hospitals are, because you were just talking about that with a friend of yours, and we were looking for new places to pull data. Yeah. So I just Googled it real quick. We found a pretty cool list of like 350 regional hospitals, so we're just gonna go off of that and pull some lists. But we're nationwide. We're wholesaling nationwide, and there's about 5 markets that we're buying in.
Tell them to pull up the American Airlines flight map.
Oh,
because there's all the regional airports like San Angelo, and there's places where American flies, and typically there's jobs there that people are commuting to and from, etc. Nice.
Yeah, because we're trying to find new creative ways.
Follow infrastructure, right? U-Haul has a map where you can see where all they're going to, right? We look at the one-way U-Haul rentals. That kind of tells you where people are leaving and not coming back to.
One-way U-Haul rentals.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
And then you said you're flipping houses. Where are you flipping houses?
So we're flipping some. We're doing burst strategy is one. I kind of say flipping houses. We're burning a few, and then we're flipping some in the major cities like San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth.
So kind of up and down the I-35 corridor here in Texas.
Mainly in Texas is where we're flipping.
Right.
Yep.
And you live in Lawton, Oklahoma?
Yes, currently, because I got out of the Army about 2 months ago. Yeah. I'll actually be moving to Fort Worth probably in the next 30, 60 days.
Very nice.
But right now, I got out of the Army, and I'm still there right now while we're transitioning.
And so you had mentioned that you kind of got the moniker real estate soldier when you were doing the Closers Olympics. I think I saw a little bit about that. What is that?
Yeah, it was a competition I actually got to compete in. It's pretty funny. That was one of the first places I actually met RJ. I had done a Crucible about a year ago. Actually, to this day, about a year ago, that I met him, and then I did the Closers Olympics the next week. So I did my open run in his office, and then did the competition. But what the Closers Olympics is all the best closers in the country get together, and you call live leads. Everybody's watching. I think there's about 2,000 tickets sold for it. And so a lot of people are watching you call, and the comment section is going crazy about what they would do and what you said. But it was kind of a high pressure closing situation and a competition. And actually RJ won the whole thing. So it's really cool getting to work with the king closer.
So he beat you?
Yeah, he beat me. I mean, it was kind of already, everybody had an idea he was going to win because he was really close last year.
Yeah.
He had the best odds to win that year, too.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we want to talk about kind of your investment strategy, why education, why you didn't stick around for the 20 years, and just some other things. So Stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for fast funding for your next fix and flip? What about leverage for your next long-term rental or vacation rental? Need capital for a new construction project? Look no further. RCN Capital has you covered. As the leading nationwide lender for real estate investors, RCN Capital offers short-term and long-term financing solutions for your next investment property. RCN Capital takes a common-sense approach to your loan request, offering high leverages and low rates backed by superior customer service. Whether you're investing in single-family properties or multifamily properties across the U.S., RCN Capital has funding options for you with no hoops to jump through and quick closings in as little as 2 weeks. Ready to get a quote for your next investment property? Visit rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today. There is no fee to apply. Again, that's rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. I'm still here with the real estate soldier, Naaman Taylor. Naaman, let's dive into, so when I got out of the Corps, and this would have been 22 years ago, I was up for re-enlistment. We were in a combat zone. So and my MOS had like this big $50,000 lump sum bonus that would have all been tax-free. And ultimately, I got out because I was burned out. I got out because I 5-year enlistment, had done 4 years at sea, multiple different deployments in different places. I was just burned out. And I told them, I said, I wanted to be an instructor. And they're like, yeah, you're too valuable. Like, if you re-enlist, you're going to be deployed. I'm like, well, then never mind. And my dad was like, son, you just don't understand. You could do your 20 and retire at 38 and have a whole nother career. And I was just like, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you just did 13 years serving the country in the United States Army. I'd like to know what you did in the Army and then kind of what led you to leaving.
Okay, so I know you said 21 years ago. You're not old, Tim. You're just seasoned. All right, you're just seasoned.
Good brisket.
There it is. Yeah. What I did in the Army was I was a marksmanship instructor for a while. I was an artillery instructor for a while, and then I ran a radar platoon for a while on a couple deployments. So that's what I did in there. The most fun I had, I think, out of all of them were the marksmanship instructor. I was doing a lot of pistol stuff and M4 things, but it was a lot of fun at the range. I learned a lot while I was in the Army, but it wasn't, once I got a taste of real estate investing and how to make money, I fell in love with generating revenue, man. Like, it was a lot of fun, and the personal development that was allowed to come with it. You kind of tap out in the military at a certain point, to where you're now molding other people, where it's not really about you. You're more of leading folks now instead of, growing yourself. Once you get to that point, you're raising soldiers, and it's a lot of fun, and it's still a cool job. But once you start making a lot of money and you start growing more, and you start realizing how much you're leaving on the table and the potential that you can see for the rest of your life, it was an easy decision to make at the end of the day. It wasn't that hard, even though it's the only thing I had done for 13 years. It wasn't that hard to leave it. I know some people have a hard time letting go of that lifestyle and that regimented life. It was easy for me to let go, not just because of the money, but because of the potential I could see in myself in personal development.
Literally this morning, there's an organization as part of the Veterans Affairs called TAPS. And it's for children and families who have dealt with trauma as a result of someone in their family's service. So we're talking Gold Star children. We're talking, unfortunately, suicide is wrecking the ranks of the U.S. Armed Forces. And so I had signed up about a year and a half ago because they're short on volunteers. They don't have enough people willing to help these, the children. And I was filling out the form this morning, actually, because they are starting a Dallas chapter, and I signed up to be a volunteer to help facilitate. It was very interesting. In there, it talked about like not to call them a loved one, let the child kind of drive that, and but then it talked about how many of them weren't dealing with a combat death, but were dealing with a suicide. It was just amazing, and I'm definitely not trying to bring the mood down. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm of the mindset that we as a country do not do enough for the vets and the active duty. And when I think about it, when I got out, I sold life insurance for a year, right? Because I put my resume on militaryhire.com, and I got hired by one of those boiler room operations. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to me when I made $6,000 in a week.
Yeah.
Because as a sergeant in combat, this was 22 years ago, I made $1,810 a month.
Right.
And then got the extra $100, you know.
Right.
And so when you look at what we pay our military, and when you look at the money that's out there, and you look at the money and resources that we spend in other countries, I'm not against that, but just personally, hearing you talk about, because most military people really want is just a sense of self-worth, right?
Correct.
And if you tap out and you're not on mission, right, anymore, it's difficult. We won't get any further into that unless you want to add something, but I just found it interesting that there's all these young kids that need help and there's nobody helping them. And I think sharing your story, this is where I was going. Sharing your story of kind of finding more a purpose outside while you were inside. I think, you know, we as a nation, but really through Instagram and social media, we can help share it, like that these vets can find purpose outside of what they're doing, and they can let maybe their service be something they did, not necessarily who they are.
Right. There's a few reasons why I do podcasts. That's one of them. I feel like it's also my responsibility to share what it is that I'm doing, because most of the reason, and this is my opinion, most of the reason why I think everyone doesn't do this is because they don't know about it. Yeah. I did my time for 11 years before I really knew about investing in real estate. So it's an exposure problem. So if you can see someone that looks, talks, did something you did, right, was in the Army, came from Cleveland, Ohio, was only making $50,000 a year for a decade, and this person can become a millionaire, this person can be on track to make $1 billion, this person can change everyone's lives that they're connected with, why can't you, right? You can see the similarities. That's why I share on these podcasts. That's why I get on here. That's the main reason. Yeah, because the money's great, and people say money won't make you happy, but it sure does let you help your family. It does.
And I mean, so here I am, 20-something years in the business, and I'm hopeful that neither of my children get into real estate. Because ultimately, it's work.
Yes.
And it's hard work. I want to teach my children to be investors, right? And not only real estate investors. I want to teach them to invest in companies. I want to teach them to invest in people. I want to teach them to invest in startups. I want to teach them to invest in large transactions, right? Like, ultimately, I feel like, but this avenue, like you said, you want to share them and show them it's here. It literally is the type of thing that an idiot Marine that never went to I went to college, just didn't finish any of it, could trip into it.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, right. It's not for everybody. I finished bowling. That was a class that I finished. But it is a business that if you get in the right circle and you learn the right way, and that's why I like what you and RJ teach, it's velocity, right? Mm-hmm. You can literally get in there and you can put your hard work in and get fast cash. And there's not a lot of real estate strategies that allow you to do that.
Right. And I want to share this because we've talked a handful of times now. We were in the boardroom together. I listen to you talk every time. But when we were in Florida together, what you said to me was about becoming a billionaire, right? But not only that, your sons, what their responsibility is going to be becoming trillionaires. Right, so I thought about that on my ride up here because I was like, I'm not going to prep much for this because I know I can just talk to Tim. I have some points I want to get across. But what you said to me about how your sons will be managing trillions, I thought about where I was in high school, right? And the school I went to and how I lived and how drastically different that's going to be. My daughter's 1 year old. How drastically different that's going to be for her in 15 years. The difference in lifestyle from one generation, what one generation can do. And that's why I don't give all the guys a hard time that won't really go all the way in for it. But we all know, what's the speaker's name? Ed Milet.
Oh yeah.
We all know Ed Milet, right? And he says, be the one in your family. What? Don't kind of be the one.
Right.
Right? Don't kind of do it. If not everybody can get exposed to this information and you only have the one life, it's your responsibility now as the one in your family to go all the way and do it, not kind of do it.
Right.
You know, so I know there's some people that don't want all of it, but if you have the information and you have the capabilities, you should do it, because you don't know if your children are gonna be able to do it. If they have the capabilities to do it, if they're gonna be exposed to the information in 15, 20 years, it's gonna help them get there. So I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do it for my family. I'm 100% gonna be the one, not kind of the one, right? To give them some money. We're gonna go way over the top with some of this stuff.
So I've learned from you. So if you're a vet out there and you're listening, you need to find me and Naaman on Instagram and DM us the one. And I won't tell you what, but we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to be the one and get you back on mission, right? Because it's all about being on mission as a vet. And I did not intend this to be a veterans podcast, but it is right now. So if you listen all the way to here, just DM me or him the one, and then we'll figure the rest out. I guess we'll have to figure out how we're going to help them. But
we'll figure it out, though, whether it's information, access, proximity, next event, a call. We'll figure something out.
We want to talk about proximity when we come back from the break, all right?
Okay.
All right, stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. Thank you for sticking around. Still here with the real estate soldier, Naaman Taylor. Next is the Money Minute. So Naaman, it's a little different. Some people take it one way. Some people stay real estate. Some people go into personal development. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But imagine there's a young entrepreneur, a young soldier, a young somebody, or an old somebody that they're not getting what they want out of life. And this is the only 60 seconds of advice they're going to get all month. Like, they're going to listen to this for 60 seconds and then be dead to the world. So dial up your best stuff, because the Money Minute starts right now. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
One of the things I want to share here for the Money Minute, and this something the podcast that I listened to said, you're best set to serve the person you once were. So I want to talk to the person that I once was. And right now, in today's real estate industry and market, one thing I wish I would have learned, when I first got started, was creative finance. I would have learned how to do the sub-2 deals. I would have learned how to do the wrap deals. I would have learned seller finance. I would say for someone who is just getting into this industry or knows a little bit about how to do cash deals, get proximity to people that know creative finance, because these deals are coming. These deals can change your life for the long haul and the short term. There's so many different extra strategies when it comes to this sort of finance in this industry. Take the time, learn those deals. Do not get in a rush to make a ton of money, and you will be successful.
So creative finance got me through 08 and 09. Literally, because we had all these rentals that we had kept. Yeah. That we kept them because no one else would buy them, and money was so easy to get in 06 and 07. And then the layoffs start happening, the jobs start getting lost, and before you know it, oh, these are actually the houses people don't want to live in either as rentals.
Right.
And so we would start owner financing them because we were so just out of money that, we needed the down payment so that we could just pay our payments. And but ultimately selling those notes propelled me into some other things years later that, ended up snowballing. So I completely agree. We are entering a time where really and truly flat markets are the best markets. Declining markets are hard because you're always trying to lead people down.
Yep.
Rising markets are hard because you're trying to catch up. But those declining markets, I love them personally because you're able to, the flat markets, I love them personally because you're able to capitalize on a little bit of surety that you have from running math and having discipline, but then also a little anxiousness, not desperation, anxiousness on the part of the seller, like, will it sell? I'm not sure. So I completely agree. This is definitely going to be a good time for creative finance. I want to back up because you and I really got to know you at Kent Clothier's Scale and Escape in September, and we talked a lot about wealth. And I don't like putting a lot of numbers on it, but ultimately, if you're not trying to grow your net worth and you're not creating new wealth, it's my opinion you're doing a disservice for your family. So talk about, so your car business, right? That's a revenue business. That's an income business. Vehicles in general don't appreciate, right?
And it's liquid.
Yeah.
I can if I needed to get rid of all those cars tomorrow, I could probably sell them all, even if I had.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. You could just go to CarMax.
That's why we parked some cash there.
Right. That makes sense. The education business is definitely revenue. I've never really heard of anyone selling a real estate education business. It may happen. I don't know. Your wholesaling business, I find it hard to believe someone buys one of those because it's just so leader dependent.
Yep.
So really, hearing you talk and knowing what you say your focus and your passion is, we're led right back to that flipping burr business, right? What do your goals look like? And maybe what are some of because you're still relatively new in the business, and when you look at gray hairs like me, seasoned people like me, what are some of the challenges you have in growing your wealth in real estate, and what's some things that you've learned to overcome it?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 2 years, and you're absolutely right. I called Kent to help me kind of figure out my deal with RJ and my own company, and he straight up told me, nobody buys that shit. So understand that you need to make your money on the sales. Don't worry so much about equity in those companies. Right, so I keep that in mind even whenever maybe I'm brokering a new deal with somebody else to partner up or something like that. How important is equity in some of these companies? It's an ego thing sometimes. But make the money, right? So that's one thing that I wanted to share because I think that's a very valuable lesson that I had to pay a lot of money to get that phone call. But I want to give that away. I want to give that to some folks. So I started all this real estate investing when I was living in Germany, actually. I was living in my barracks room in Germany, and I watched 200 Bigger Pockets episodes, and I was like, I can burr a house in DFW. That's where I picked to do it as well. It's kind of funny. So I did the burr strategy. Those were the first things that I did. And I'm so glad that I did because the market went pretty crazy. 2 years ago is when I was buying houses. I was buying houses in DFW for like 50 grand, putting 20 into them, and they're worth 150. Now those houses are worth 250, 300, whatever. That was the first thing that I did as an entry level into this business was burr strategy. Market changed. I got into wholesaling, house flipping, and now the market's changing again. And I'm so glad that I know all of these industries, flipping, wholesaling, and burr, because I can analyze a deal really quick. So if you want to build wealth, I would say you need to know how to do all of it because you can make money off of every single one of those deals. You'll be able to wholesale deals you don't want, you can burr houses you want to keep, and you can flip houses that'll make you the biggest net spread. And that's my goal. Those are the things that I'm doing right now to build wealth. Outside of a few of these other smaller companies that we're running just to generate more revenue for some of the money that we're making. Those are the core companies that I'm always going to have, which is wholesaling and house flipping companies.
Right.
But that's kind of what I'm doing for building wealth right now.
So let's get into some rapid fire. Why Dallas or DFW? I should say.
So I was listening to those podcasts when I was living in Germany, and one of the people that I resonated with, his name was Josiah, and I watched 2 of his episodes, and he was a professor, he was an appraisal guy, right? So not your like average, I can show you how to make 10K in 10 days, whatever.
Right.
And I was like, I'm hiring this dude. But he didn't offer any like education services or nothing. So I inboxed and I'm like, Josiah, like what can I do to get your tutelage prof? You know, he was a professor. And so I paid him like $100 to get on a couple phone calls with me in Germany. The time was all jacked up, trying to figure out the right time to talk to this guy. He's busy. So we started that relationship over the phone. And I was able, through him, to tap into his network, and he was buying and holding in Fort Worth. So naturally I gravitated toward using his contractors, his wholesalers, his property management, and that's how I started in Fort Worth. I did one deal and with him first, and before that deal was even rented, I had enough proof of concept because it was fixed up. And
right.
So I did 5 more. I was like, let's just do 5 more of these things, right? So I ended up buying a bunch of houses here in Fort Worth when I was living in Germany.
All right, so your roommate in Germany had to think you were nuts, right?
Correct. I actually split that first phone call. He wasn't my roommate, but he was a buddy I spent a lot of time with. We split the first phone call with Josiah at $50 each because I was like, dude, $100 is a lot of money to be like.
So how'd you get him agree? Did you make the offer of $100, or did he?
I DM'd him and he just said, for an hour it'd be $100 because he didn't offer anything. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, this was like the cheapest.
So
shit.
did you, in your DM, this is very important, did you say, can I pick your brain? No. Or did you offer to pay him? Or
I said, do you offer any coaching? I listened to your Bigger Pockets episode, and I love to do what you've already done.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So you asked him to sell you something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, but you didn't ask him to do anything for free. Are you guys still connected today?
Yep. So this guy, man, he really had his goals set. He hit his goals. He had a pretty popular podcast. He had a bunch of rentals. He sold a lot of his rentals and got into the short-term rental area, and then he hit me up on a phone call. He said, hey, I'm traveling with my family. We sold a bunch of stuff, and I've hit my FI numbers, and I'm out. He's like, you can reach me over email, but this phone's probably going to be off soon too. And I was like, I thought that was so cool. I was like, he's not here for the rat race and
well, he's not even here for a fictional figure target, or 9 figures, 10 figures, or figures. He's like, no, I have my number, and because ultimately, how much is enough, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for him, and he hit it, and he was gone, and I was like, how freaking cool, man!
Right?
He can just go.
So where are you in 10 years?
See, for me, people ask me that a lot. I try not to go further out than a year. Mainly because the goals that I set, I try to crush them all as fast as I can. So 10 years is kind of hard. 10 years, I don't know, man, 100 mil is like a number maybe. Hanging out with my wife and kids. Most of these businesses automated, I would imagine.
You'll have an 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah. So I'm trying to spend some time, you know what I mean? Like trying to spend more time with my family and my kids, grow my marriage more. That's something that's really important to me. So it's hard to go that far out for me. I know some people, they write it down and stuff, but it changes so often.
I don't believe in writing it down. I write down short-term goals. I don't write down long-term goals.
Yeah.
Long-term focuses, right? Like, I know I want to, 5 years from now when my kid graduates high school, I know I'm going to travel a lot with my wife.
Right.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like probably full-time. I don't really know if it's going to be in Europe or Canada, or if we're going to own it, or if it's going to be on a boat, or by then we may be able to take a spaceship somewhere.
That's what I'm saying, man. It all
right?
just changes so much. I'm like, it's hard for me to think outside of 2 years. Especially, I watched what I just did in 2 years from nothing, besides living in a barracks room in Germany with 10 years under my belt in the Army, to what I'm doing now. And I go, okay, now that I have this and I have all these connections, I know guys like Tim and freaking RJ and all these people. I'm like, what can't I do in 2 years? Like, how fast can we do some more stuff? So 10, it's crazy, man.
It's hard to estimate the compounded growth that you'll experience, right?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Very cool. I like that answer. That's maybe the best 10-year goal we've had on the show. It's like, man, I don't know. I can't see past 1 because I'm going to crush 1, and then maybe what I was thinking for my 10-year today is my 2-year.
People
right?
underestimate what they can do in a year,
especially with compounded effort.
And people, and the amount of like these podcasts, they open up an opportunity for you to make relationships.
Right.
So people can come on here, they can answer your questions, they can shake your hand, they can leave. Right? They can have a conversation with you that opens up an even further conversation and the next lunch, dinner, business together. How are we adding value to Tim more? Right. So that's another reason why I do this.
I keep putting posts on social media about people can come up here, and so far we've had 2 or 3 people come up, and it's just always funny to me. Like then people will DM me and ask me to help them, and I'm just like,
right here.
Like they could sit here. Today, they could have sat here for 2 hours with some of the most successful people I know and the most influential people I know. And they could have literally just been hanging out with you for an hour and a half while you were waiting for your turn. So, I think people got to put themselves out like that DM that you sent, and that's where I'm kind of going. So I think if you're listening and you want to have more, you have to ask for more, and you have to be willing to do more.
Become a good asker.
Yeah.
It's like I lived in Vilseck, Germany, which none of you have ever heard of. I live in Lawton, Oklahoma, which none of you have ever heard of.
I've heard of that one.
Most people have never heard of Lawton. It's the armpit of Oklahoma. And somehow I've managed to find myself in rooms. You've seen Titanic, right?
Yeah.
I'm continuously trying to be Jack at the dinner table, where it's like you got the new money lady, all the old money, and then Jack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I be Jack everywhere that I freaking go?
I love it.
How can I keep doing this?
I love it.
And I did that through the DMs, through the Zooms. We live in a virtual world now. Like COVID completely changed everything, where you can get connected to these high-level individuals, influencers, and people via Zoom, masterminds. Like the proximity doesn't have to be just inside this room. There's so many other places to build relationships and community, and you just have to put yourself out there and tap in, and you can absolutely do it.
It's interesting. The way you get at those tables is by adding value. The way you get at those tables is by not trying to get for free, but to offer to give. Mm-hmm. And you have to make that ask. I mean, it's just, I didn't know a dang thing about your business when we had dinner together, and I don't even remember how that ended up happening, but you just impressed me during the day. I think you came up and said, "Hey, let's mic you up," and I was like, "All right," but it meant a lot to me, right? Just strokes your ego a little bit, gives me an opportunity to exponentially do what I was there to do anyway. Mm-hmm. I like to share with people, and so I think that's a great place to end. Is you got to be willing to tap in. Too many people tap out and they don't tap in.
Yeah, one of the things that I do, the reason why I mic'd you up, right, is as a leader in this industry, it's our responsibility to show people how to deserve our time, right? And we can't do that with one conversation at a time. So that's why I do a lot of social media. I don't give my time to people that need it. I give my time to people that deserve it. And I don't want anybody to ever say, I didn't know what you were doing. Why didn't you give me a call? Why didn't you text me? It's all over my Instagram. Tim is all on my Instagram. The guys that are high level are all on it. We do reels together so you can see right there on your phone, wherever you are in the world, what's happening here, what this person does, and how to connect with them. And so no one can ever hit me up and say, Naaman, you never told me that you were working with Tim and that I could get hard money loans and buy houses nationwide, right, and how to wholesale. I'm like, all of it's documented. Yeah. I don't send letters anymore. And if you're not actually reaching out yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? So I've shown you how to deserve my time online. Now it's your responsibility to bring some value.
Absolutely. So if someone is out there and they want to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
Yeah, Instagram's the best way, at Naaman Taylor Investor, at Naaman Taylor Investor. And I answer all the DMs. I get it back to everybody.
You answer all the DMs?
Every single one of them, except for the ones where they're trying to sell me on the blue check.
Or if they tell you that you look pretty?
I answer those too. They at least get opened.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. I'm grateful you're here. And again, thank you for your service. And that's it. We are out of time. I've gone overtime, but it was worth going overtime. I'm Tim Herriage. I will see you next week. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you have been growing both. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.